All right, welcome to our second call to the bullpen. As you know, with all of the corona nonsense in mind, obviously the MLB had to send out a press release regarding what is going to happen for the 2020 season. And so, as you may know, they are going to be delaying spring training for a total of 2 weeks. And Sheyne, we initially had thrown out a post about what. Care to comment?
Yeah, I think you got a little bit fuzzed out there, but hi everybody. Yeah, originally we had put out a statement because I was checking out ESPN and Peter Gammons. The information he was getting was that all 30 owners were on the phone with Manfred, and what they were initially eyeing was to suspend for about a month and bring back spring training on April 15th, thereabouts, and then the season will start May 1st. Obviously, right now, the official statement, which you have, Ashley, will be, which you can read in a minute or two, is just that it's delayed for 2 weeks. But I don't know. Personally, I think that the time frame that was leaked and from very reliable sources, Peter Gammon's a very reliable source in himself, is probably still the initial plan, but they probably don't want to say it's going to be a full month. They just kind of want to take it in increments, which I think is wise. But I don't know, Victor, what do you think between the difference between what they are reported to have actually discussed and what they actually released?
Here's the thing. I feel like there was leagues such as the MLS, NBA, and NHL. Granted that they all announced their news within the last day or so that they were suspending. It was only right for the MLB to do the same. Now, considering the severity of the coronavirus, still a little bit more. This is the delaying or, in a way, stalling for the worst case measure. I think it was the right move to make. I know we're all baseball for an extra week or so, but I think the safety of the fans comes first versus anything else.
I mean, I absolutely agree. Like I was saying last night, like they need to follow suit. But what do you think as far as the time frame they're giving? Do you think that it's a realistic time frame of 2 weeks or that the 1 month thing?
At this stage, we even have De Blasio in New York who's saying that this could turn into like a 6-month epidemic. So if that's the case, this timeline is like way
far
but
out. I think 6 months is the worst case
scenario. Of course it is.
But I think the MLB is doing is doing 2 weeks is appropriate because if you announce 6 months, that's gonna change the logistics of everything.
Well, I don't think they should do 6 months. I think that week by week is not enough.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously 6 months you can't do. That's basically saying there's no 2020 season. I think 2 weeks is too little. I think if you were to say, you know what, obviously it's a fluid situation and we're going to take it as it goes. As the situation develops on its own, it's out of our hands in that way. But I think to say 2 weeks, now you're giving the players uncertainty to a certain extent. Like, do we just stay in camp? Do we try to get our families down here? We're not doing practice? Are we quarantined because we may have been exposed? Do we have a month to go and figure out our lives and whatnot and come back? I think would have been the better option to just say, you know what, it's a month off the bat regardless. If they re-kick everything up, to reschedule the arenas, the stadiums, to reschedule the staff, to figure all these things, I feel like logistically speaking, it's going to have to be about a month regardless.
I agree.
And so I feel like obviously 6 months, absolutely not, 100% with you on that, Victor. But I think 2 weeks is maybe trying to appease too many people who are like, because there's still a lot of people out there like, this is stupid. Why are they doing this? Because they don't understand it's actually a serious situation. I tend to put a little more faith in the initial report that we heard from Gammons on ESPN of it possibly being a full month at the very least, as opposed to the 2 weeks that they officially said.
Yeah, but the point that I was trying to make before was that you announced 2 weeks as a preventative measure, right? Because if you announce a month, then all of a sudden, I think you place a lot more emphasis on there being not necessarily a crisis within the MLB, but some sort of panic. As of now, this is still a little bit preliminary. If in a couple days from now they're saying, hey, we reevaluated our adjustments, then they say a month, I'd rather hear that than to be like, right off the bat, you won't be seeing baseball for a month.
I don't know, because I feel
don't agree with that at all. Go ahead, Shane.
No, okay. Real quick. I mean, I don't, because I feel like MLB is the only one that's actually giving a time frame, which I think is both reassuring on one hand to say, you know what, we are looking forward and we're doing everything we can to get you baseball, but also a little bit irresponsible on the other hand. Basketball hasn't canceled the season. They're suspending it indefinitely till they add a full hold on the situation. I don't think people are panicking. I think they're like, that's responsible. Our players they're going to do their thing. They're going to figure out who's been exposed to the Utah Jazz players and anybody else, and they're going to figure it out. But they're giving themselves as much time as they need to figure it out. It sucks with the NCAA. That's canceled. That's logistics with schools and things, that and the other thing. But I feel like that's giving like an appropriate amount of time to the fact that it's an evolving situation. This is something none of us have seen in our lifetime. Most of our parents have never seen this in their lifetime. All of our parents have never seen this in their lifetime. And it's spreading. The difference between Monday and today is astronomical. And to act like they have some kind of grasp on the situation is almost foolhardy, I think. I don't know. Ashley?
So, I mean, just from a corporate perspective, a lot of corporations are thinking that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, possibly a month, that this will be resolved. So I think what we heard initially being that 1 month, I think that's a fair, like, okay, take 2 weeks, assess where we're at, then take another 2 weeks to kind of get our heads, okay, we need to move these schedules around and coordinate all these other people who are involved in the games. I mean, we're protecting the fans, but we're also protecting the players as well, because obviously we've seen with the Jazz that, you know, it is spreading to everyone. It's not just cutting off celebrities. It's affecting us all because we all are humans in fact. But the point being, 2 weeks, I think, is very scarce. I think 2 weeks is not enough time for us to get things settled as we're seeing our numbers increase. I think a month is a reasonable time frame to say, okay, at the end of the month, where are we with the virus? And then where are we going forward from there? I think that's more of a better time frame, like you said, Shane, to get people's families together, people in the right mindset, and kind of take that next step and go from there. I don't think it's anything drastic or scary. The virus alone is scary, but I don't think saying a month would hinder anyone in any way.
Like, Victor, do you feel like the NBA kind of hit the panic button with how they proceeded with things and the NHL?
Well, the NBA had to put players with Rudy Gobert and now Donovan Mitchell being reported that they have the virus, they had to do it. They had no other choice. There wasn't a confirmed case in the MLB yet. I mean, aside from Donovan Mitchell's father, who works for the New York Mets.
Well, he doesn't even have it yet. They're testing him.
Yeah, but even so, even if that's not confirmed, I'm not saying, like, if the MLB needs a month to essentially say, hey, we need to reset, that's totally fine. But given that there's an unknown, I think within the next week or so, or within a week or two, maybe the MLB really re-evaluates the situation. So this news changed from today, like how news on this virus is changing daily. However, to say right off the bat, 1 month, no baseball, I think it's a little bit too harsh. Yeah, Rob Manfred jumped the gun and was just like, oh, this 2 weeks didn't work for us, then so be it. You know, we have to understand the severity of the situation. But given the fact that if you say 1 month no baseball right off the bat, I think that it's stretching it a little bit and really hitting the panic button.
What about the NHL and soccer and hockey and everybody?
Well, as of now, it's unknown because we don't even know. We're New Yorkers. We don't even know exactly what's going on.
Would you feel that? Do you feel that? Is it almost even an issue of any time frame at all, instead of just doing what everyone else has done and said indefinitely, so we know what we're dealing with? Do you think it's foolhardy? Both of you, a question to both of you. Do you think it's foolhardy just in general to have given any time frame?
I think it's fair to have given a time frame in general because we all want to see an end to this, and I think putting a time frame on it gives us something to look forward to getting to that final day where maybe we can finally put this to bed and move on with our lives.
Victor, what do you think?
Given a time frame, still us fans, we have something to look forward to. But at the end of the day, the MLB can't control the situation. They're only doing the best. They're doing damage control.
Victor, you there?
All right. So with that, I will go into the full league release here. So following a call with the 30 clubs and after consultation with the MLB Commissioner Rob D. Manfred Jr. today announced that MLB has decided to suspend spring training games and to delay the start of the 2020 regular season by at least 2 weeks due to the national emergency created by the coronavirus pandemic. This action is being taken in the interest of the safety and well-being of our players, clubs, and our millions of loyal fans. MLB will continue to evaluate ongoing events leading up to the start of the season. Guidance related to daily operations and workouts will be relayed to the clubs in the coming days. As of 4 p.m. ET today, forthcoming spring training games have been canceled, and the 2020 World Baseball Classic qualifier games in Tucson, Arizona have been postponed indefinitely. MLB and the clubs have been preparing a variety of contingency plans regarding the 2020 regular season. MLB will announce the effects on the schedule and remain flexible as the events warrant, with the hope of resuming normal operations as soon as possible. Nothing is more important to us than the health and safety of our players, employees, and fans. MLB will continue to undertake the precautions and best practices recommended by public health experts. We send our best wishes to all individuals and communities that have been impacted by the coronavirus.
I forgot about the World Baseball Classic qualifiers. I completely forgot about that.
There are a bunch of things in there, but I think there was one thing to note that they do have contingency plans in place. So I'm kind of curious if that leans to the 1 month that we heard, is that, they have that plan in the back of their head just in case the 2 weeks doesn't, resolve itself.
Well, they did say, and I noticed that in this reading of it, what I didn't notice it before was it said at least. So that gives an open end.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, hearing actually say it back, at least 2 weeks. Like, you just say 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all the situation. And that's what my point was, is that this could extend to a month, but to say right off the bat 4 weeks or 1 month, that's way too drastic.
Do you think it's weird they played games today?
I'm sorry?
Do you think it's weird that they actually went ahead and played games today, knowing they were going to do this?
Not necessarily. I mean, the NBA played one game last night. It was the Nets and Golden State. And I think this was just a way to wrap up everything, and teams are now able to take on the games that they've played to learn everything about their players and handle this on a day-by-day basis moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's either here nor there. I know there are a lot of speculation of, like, was it just to get that extra money in or whatnot, the other thing, but I don't think it's anything that nefarious. I just think they were evaluating it. The show went on until they completely evaluated it, and obviously last night NBA was last minute because that's when the player tested positive, and it was like, oh, we have to do this.
Yeah.
They had other games going on, so they were just going to let them finish it. And speaking of the Utah Jazz, of course, Donovan Mitchell on the Utah Jazz tested positive, and he's the second player in the NBA, second player on that team so far. And, of course, his father, Donovan Mitchell Sr., is on the Mets staff and is with them in spring training. So the Mets' official statement regarding him is, and I quote, "We have been in regular communication with medical professionals and public health authorities over the past several weeks. When news surfaced Wednesday night of the situation involving the Utah Jazz, we immediately contacted Donovan Mitchell Sr. to advise him to not report at our facility this morning. Upon learning today that his son, Donovan Mitchell Jr., tested positive for the coronavirus, we brought that fact to the attention of our medical team, who recommended, as a precautionary measure, that Donovan Sr. be tested, and we are making those arrangements. We will continue to closely monitor the situation, and the medical staff will advise us if any additional testing becomes advisable. Do you guys worry that there could be an issue there? Because obviously I feel like they know that they've probably seen each other recently within the last few weeks. So do you worry that the Mets might be a team that comes out with several positive players in the near future?
I don't think so, because you also have to think, are we all washing our hands? Are we all taking precautionary measures? We could be fine, but, we could also speculate that we might not be fine and, oh no, what's going to happen? I actually rather not speculate and hope that, we are going to stay healthy, that there isn't going to be a problem, that Conforto's going to stay on the team and you're not going to mess that up for me. But, I digress.
Well, that's my concern, is that what if they set... Do you think, if you were, and I'll pose this to you, Victor, if you were Rob Manfred, would you set forth immediately, if who knows if he has or he hasn't behind the scenes, a policy that says, we have to assume, the CDC is saying the majority of Americans are going to get it, it's going to pass through their system, and the majority of Americans are going to be fine. You have to assume that a good portion of the league are going to get infected with this. So do you create a mandate that says we will not start the season until every single one of our players is healthy, or we know they're not going to be able to play this season or for an extended period of time? Or do you say, all right, it's starting to clear up, we set a date, but now rosters might have to be reconfigured because maybe the Red Sox have 2 players who can't make it, the Yankees have none, the Mets, with our luck, have 10 who can't play, and so on and so forth. How would you go about doing that?
At this point, it's... The first thing is following the research and following exactly what the CDC is saying. The second is that, you have to test these players and make sure that they're all healthy, even if it's down to the staff members, as part of the office for the New York Mets. Do everything in your power to make sure that your players are healthy. Now, if there's players that have to be placed on the IL for this, you know what? They're going to have to be placed on the IL. But if, say, 80% of your roster is healthy, play a major league game, then you go forward with your 80%. Even if this virus wasn't a thing, like chances are is that your team isn't always going to be healthy. You have to go forward with roster changes, with going into your minor league and kind of rebuilding your team in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unprecedented situation, so I don't know. I almost feel like, obviously, I think it's too soon to announce anything, but I would keep in the back of my mind to say maybe that 80% number is a good number, or 75% to say, listen, if we have to make sure that the game isn't compromised. We don't come back for the sake of coming back, where we have teams that are going to be mostly made up of AA and AAA players. We need to set a precedent that 80% of the entire 30-team roster is able to go, so that the game isn't compromised, the teams aren't compromised, and so that we actually give these players who are putting their all on the field an actual legitimate chance to be healthy and compete, and we're not going to leave certain teams behind. It's a sticky situation. I don't know, Ashley, what do you think?
I mean, I kind of agree with Victor's whole point about the percentages, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. I don't think that, they should be like, oh, we don't have enough people, it is what it is. Because we've seen situations where, like, our players are injured and we have to keep pushing on, and this is going to be the case. I think it's also something to keep in mind that there's speculation out there that the virus actually stays in you for possibly up to 5 weeks, even after you've recovered. So that's also something to keep in mind, that if that proves to be true, how likely is it that we would be able to have a team of 80% if everyone has had, or some people have been exposed to it at some point? Can we really afford people to be out for 5 weeks? And what does that mean going forward for all teams, not just the Mets?
And can you be a carrier to other people even after you've dealt with it? It's a unique situation.
It is a sticky situation. Tony Clark who is the Major League Baseball Players Association executive director, says that the players are, of course, disappointed that they won't be able to compete on the field. At the same time, they do recognize the importance of public health and safety. So I think we're all in it to win it at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I just admire. I was on Victor first. I didn't know I was going to talk first.
There's a pause, and I had no idea what was going on.
Nah, did I? I was like, I'm going to Victor. I'm going to look at his face. But no, I mean, I'm very glad that the NBA led the way and everyone has followed suit and did it the right way. I think MLB did it, in the right way. They all talked. I know there was issue with the NCAA with how they tried to go about doing things, but at least ultimately they made the right decision. And I mean, it's a scary time. I mean, I think we'll get through it, but it's a scary time. I don't worry about myself. I worry about all the people that I'm around. If God forbid I'm a carrier or something like that. I mean, how's it affecting you guys in your personal life?
Well, that's why we're doing this episode remotely.
Yeah. Yeah, because the truth
they
is...
They don't want to infect me because I am an asthmatic.
You're an asthmatic, yeah, and we all know people, be it in our families, our friends, or family members of friends, or whatnot. Or the other thing, where the older generation is at risk, and anyone with respiratory, like you with the asthma, and it's just got to be careful. That's why we're doing this remotely, and we'll see. We shall see. I just, I'm glad that the teams and the leagues are doing what they have to do, and it's not about the money, and it's not about appeasing anybody, because there's still people.
Yeah,
I have family in Oklahoma who are like, "Oh, this is very good. They're doing this." Then I have other people who are like, "I don't get it. Why are they doing this? It's stupid."
We do have to be diligent. We do have to take precautions, and I think that's across the board, not just in our daily lives, but also at work, which is it's work for them, not for us.
Yeah.
So to kind of wrap this all up, Pete Alonso actually put out a statement. First and foremost, I want to say I'm going to miss baseball. God willing, it will only be a short hiatus from the best game in the world. It's a strange circumstance in a strange world. I hope everyone stays healthy and safe. For the people who are affected by the virus, I wish them a speedy recovery. The best things in life, and then Pete Alonso put in parentheses, baseball season are worth waiting for. Second, thank you to everyone in the medical world trying to find a way to contain and suppress this disease. Those people who are working tirelessly to ease the massive international disaster. It's good to see all those precautions and measures taken to prevent something far more dangerous. Thirdly, we are all strong, one of us. It is our duty to protect people who are at high risk. As much as we hate not having sports, it's our duty to protect others. Lastly, LFGM. So this was posted today, March 12th, at 3:57.
Perfectly said.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doesn't that just make you love him even more?
Better ourselves.
Huh?
Yeah, I think that was very reassuring from Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, as far as we go, we'll still be doing our thing, even if it's all called to the pens for a little while to make sure that no one's at risk for anything. But we'll continue to bring you the latest, the greatest, and talk about all things Mets. It's going to be a little bit longer till we can get to the promised land of the season, but it's going to be an interesting time. But we're still going to be here for you guys, for all our fans, and for everyone out there. Isn't that right, Victor?
Absolutely. So you guys can follow us on Instagram at Standing Room Only NY, and our YouTube channel Standing Room Only NY as well, and then find us on Twitter. What else do we have? Facebook,
Instagram, YouTube, things.
And where can we find all our episodes and all the new stuff and the podcast from today?
That's where I was drawing a blank on. Also, on some other outlets. Spotify, SoundCloud, and iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your streaming platforms.
And if you want to binge Standing Room Only from the very beginning, when it was just Victor and I last May, a lot of you can have the time working from home now, so you find us on the YouTube, and you can see how it all started, how we evolved, when Ashley came into it, and come back to us as your Mets source of information, commiseration, celebration, and me being very, very angry, and Ashley being very, very in love with Conforto, and Victor being very, very, very centered and analytical and the voice of reason in many cases. So, Ashley, you want to bring us home?
Yes, I am Ashley. Victor? Oh, no. Are we?
Oh, I don't know what we were doing. Wrap it up for us.
All right, so closing it out, I'm Ashley.
I'm Victor.
Oh, yeah, I'm Victor. Okay, there we go.
This is all staying in, though. This is
one more
perfect.
time. Closing this out, I'm Ashley.
I'm Victor.
And I'm Sheyne, who had just messed up the cameras, but they get the idea.
And this was the call to the bullpen. We'll see you guys next time.
No.
What?
What? You're cutting out now.